Yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose. And that is the word of Lyndon Johnson. My name is Omotayo Alo, and it's on this note we go on from the Ivory Tower today. Now, the topic for today is happenings in Nigeria, getting back on track. You see, with all of the problems bedeviling the country, it's the joy of everyone to look for how we could get the peaceful Nigeria we once had. Today, my guest on the program is a poet, a popularly known poet in Nigeria. His name is Odia Ofemu. He will be talking with me, discussing the problems bedeviling Nigeria and how to get back on track. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice having you on the program.
Thank you.
All right. Straight to the business of today. Recently in Lagos, you had a dance drama program. So could you just enlighten us more about the program and what was the inspiration behind having a dance drama and the topic, the story behind all of those?
The title of the dance drama is Because of 1914. 1914 is the year most Nigerians have been brought up to accept either as a mistake or an imposition. It doesn't really matter how you take it. We cannot escape the fact that 1914 made us a country. And so we begin by looking at how kingdom after kingdom was taken over by the British after they had helped resolve the violence that they helped to create. I will repeat that, they helped to resolve the violence that they helped to create, because before 1914, Nigeria was fractured by slave wars. Colonial history described them as intertribal wars. They were not intertribal, they were just slave wars. One province or one village, one town against another, taking slaves, creating so much distrust between peoples, such that when the colonizer came, the people could not band together to resist. Many Nigerians still manage to think that it was colonialism that ruined them. It was our own weakness, our own incapacity to unite against a common enemy that caused our problems. We are still steeped in that, almost call it sense of dissolution today. I mean, what did the colonialists do? First, they created violence across the land in the way that Boko Haram is creating violence across everywhere today. And then they moved it to an internationalization of the crisis. They internationalized the crisis, took themselves to Berlin so that the slavers and the colonizers will stop fighting between themselves in order to properly colonize us. And that internationalization led to the fracturing of very many ethnic groups and the creation of many of the paper countries we have today. After they did that, then they could properly balkanize the place. Now, if you look at the pattern of Boko Haram, they are doing exactly what they did. The first is turn violence into the vernacular of existence of the people in the area, internationalize the crisis. They came here to help, and they're already coming here to help us. Then balkanize those whom you have decided to help. They will share out the country between themselves. Those who think that if Nigeria was so divided, they would be better off, will discover that what they have just done is to leave the pot and jump into the fire. Anybody who manages to think of the dissolution of Nigeria as a solution to the problem is either a madman or somebody who has not looked at the fact that irrespective of how much we hate ourselves, there are foreigners who hate us enough because they want to monopolize our resources.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Yeah, but sir, my question is this, that delegates to know why they were constituted, what they were constituted for. So I think that should be the major cause on their mind. That should be at the back of their mind. Okay, we are here to do something, so let's face it and stop this faction. Because some said that for the meeting they'll be having, that they are going there to disagree with all of the things that some factions have decided on. So why this setback? If Nigeria wants to move forward,
I don't know why you consider it a setback. Right. Every ethnic group or fraction in this country has a right to some self-rule, because that is the only way you can actually convince yourself that democracy does exist. If a local government or a province cannot have self-rule in a country that claims to be free, then there must be something wrong with that country. Every ethnic group, every fraction has a right to go there to demand to have the kind of country in which they will feel comfortable. It is not a setback when people go to a place like that to say, my people want this arrangement and that arrangement. Let the others make their own propositions. You will find that in the push and shove of propositions, they may actually arrive at some kind of balance of power, or balance of terror, if you like. Because if it becomes a balance of terror, it means the other side will not strike you because they know you can strike back. Now, it's not bad for people to have a great argument over how their future should be. And in the case of the national conference, I think it was only fair that we had to have a national conference, because the fracturing that Lugard had already created ensured distrust was created between several Nigerian ethnic groups and regions. And therefore, it was necessary to have some kind of collocation. You bring things together and see whether there is a way of finding answers. I can assure you we are actually finding answers. The answers do not have to be all mathematically correct. I mean, 2 and 2 do not necessarily make 4 in politics. But here is where the problem really lies. How do you ensure that what would not make 4 would not make a number that dissuades people from working for a harmonious existence? Now, at that point, we arrive at, in my view, the critical questions that the conference was meant to resolve. Look, Awolowo struggled for a very long time to become the head of state of Nigeria. And one of the reasons they didn't vote for him was that he was a Yoruba leader, he was a tribalist. He was certainly the most versatile of the people who provided solutions that have made Nigeria look like a country, because Awolowo had solutions not for just the Yoruba, but for all Nigerians. Whether you are arguing today about the idea of all Nigerians voting for a president, whether it's about sending every Nigerian child to school or giving them free health and full employment, Awolowo was the champion. And those who had opposed all these things, they really did not want him to become Prime Minister of Nigeria, because they feared his effectiveness. When Abiola came, they said because he tribalized the mandate he was given, they annulled it. How do you tribalize a mandate given to you by a whole country? Simply you can't stop being a Yoruba because the whole country voted for you. So there was something obviously wrong with that. Then Obasanjo was brought into power by a Northern caucus that wanted to use him for their own purposes. They made him sign an agreement. Or Jubri Aminu said they got him to sign an agreement. Obasanjo said, I did not sign an agreement. What is important is that Obasanjo did not say that he was not given an agreement to sign. When Goodluck Jonathan came, they said they gave him an agreement to sign. The chair of the Northern Governors Forum, Babangida Aliu, says he signed an agreement. Goodluck Jonathan says he never signed one. But whether Obasanjo and Goodluck Jonathan signed an agreement to be of good behavior to the North or to do whatever the North wished is really unimportant. What is critical is that because they are supposed not to be children of the bright chambers, you have to make them sign an agreement to be of good behavior or to do what the North demands. Right. If only for that reason, you needed a national conference. I don't want to live in a country where any president from outside the North has to sign a special agreement to be a chicken president simply because a caucus somewhere wants him not to be a serious-minded person. You needed a conference even if there were no other problems. That was a serious enough problem to demand or make a conference necessary. If you didn't have a conference, we needed to invent one. It doesn't matter what kind of conference Jonathan managed to put together. A proper conference is impossible to organize in Nigeria. You cannot organize a sovereign national conference. It is not possible to organize one. Anybody who knows about government knows that a sovereign national conference was impossible. And whatever is possible today actually comes closest to the kind of talk shop that could lead to a basis for organizing a new country. Because at the end of the day, if they drew up a constitution, the constitution is not final until properly brought together, not through a referendum. I keep wondering why many people overplay the idea of a referendum. A referendum does not legitimize a constitution, because a referendum can legitimize rubbish. It is better first to ensure that you organize a model constitution that is as good or as close as possible to a good model. Okay. Start from there. And I think that what is happening at the national conference is actually the closest thing to it.
All right, thank you very much. That was quite in-depth. Okay, moving to still on interest basis, we can see what is happening in Osun State. Yeah. APC and PDP. Yeah. There's a lot of saying one faction is promoting terrorism by using a masked security operative. The other is saying, okay, they just feel like talking. That's why they are making these allegations. So what does this argument between them portray for 2015 elections? 2015 elections coming and the election coming August 9.
You know, politicians can't be stopped from brickbats. They would always do such things. I can assure you from my knowledge of Nigerian politics and of Yoruba politics, the governor of Osun State owns 80% of the population in terms of votes. I can almost swear to it. But strange things have been happening which can shake 80% and reduce it. But I do not think that a reduction would amount to the kind of radical shift that took place in Ekiti. What happened in Ekiti is a different ball game altogether. In Osun, the governor has not only performed brilliantly well, he has structured the programs in such a manner that as you move from one year to the other, they can expand and create a basis for a genuinely healthy development. The educational policy in Osun State ought to by now be adopted by the federal government and sold to almost every state of the federation. By now, the federal government ought to have created a factory for producing okmoimo for every state. For every state. That is to say, you needed to have that okmoimo produced in Nigeria for every school. Unfortunately, we do not always take the best ideas and run with them. And I think frankly, whoever is Minister of Education at the federal level ought to go to Osun and learn, for instance, how to ensure that every child is at school and that those who cannot feed themselves will eat at least one meal at school before the close of the school day.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Right now, I want to take a short break on the program. The program is still from the Ivory Tower. Stay with us, please.
Core TV News presents a platform with presence in over 30 states of the Federation. Be sure to be had. For live coverage of events, we have the capacity to deliver from anywhere in Nigeria and beyond. Contact us now on 0803 471 8550 or 0803 724 9733 014 533 407.
Our 24-hour news station.
You're still on to from the Ivory Tower. Okay, back to you, sir. Let's look at the happenings. What happened recently in Lagos about some military men burning PRT buses in a show of anger because one of their colleagues was killed by a PRT bus driver. And looking at how the country is fighting terror activities, how all Nigerians want the military men to go to Sambisa Forest and bring back girls, with what happened in Lagos. How can you juxtapose this happening?
First of all, I don't think God military men have to go to Sambisa to bring back the girls. The girls may not be there. We are not too sure we know where they are. But I think that to deal with the matter of the military first, it is very, very wrong for the army of the nation to treat any evil or violence done to one of his own as if they were dealing with a foreign country. A Nigerian soldier who is killed by a motor vehicle ought not to treat his country as an enemy country for that purpose. It is an act of gross indiscipline of any army in the world that would decide to burn down a country simply because one of its own was killed. Yeah. If you were in a foreign country, what would you have done? Would you simply kill everybody? The point is that soldiers are supposed to be calmer under pressure because they are trained to manage violence. The rest of us who are not trained to manage violence could go haywire because we are a rabble. But an army is not a rabble. An army is made up of an organized people trained to discipline the use of violence. If and when they go on the rampage as they've just done, it's like mutiny against the people. And for God's sake, it is not a healthy sign of an army that genuinely wishes to serve its own people. What we would expect is an army that goes into the matter and exacts punishment according to a law. I mean, there are policemen in the place to do it. It is.
Even some policemen were beaten at the site.
Oh yes.
Reports has it that some eyewitness thought that a policeman was beaten because he was trying to take a coverage. So if a policeman can be dealt with, what are we talking about?
No, an army that does that is behaving like a rabble. And I want to say that it's a characteristic that the most senior officers in the Nigerian army have displayed. That is why their subordinates follow the pattern. Obasanjo, as a head of state, preferred, for instance, to burn down a town rather than arrest the 11 or 12 people who were said to have done something that offended the Nigerian army. If a head of state who was a military general, who is a military general, can do such a thing, what do you expect of the recruits that follow? No. When we have it from the big generals, we should know that they are setting the bad examples that are being followed by the others.
So it means if the problem is not Ipini, but there could be a repeat of what happened.
Oh, precisely. Because, frankly, no army should bear its own members acting outside a command. Because that was certainly acting outside a command. An army must act under a command.
All right, thank you, sir. Recently, some persons have made comments on the nature of the presidency. We have likes of El Rufai and Balarabe Musa accusing the president of being petite and incompetent.
Because
they say he tries to waive serious issues for petty ones. And some even say that the play out in Ekiti, for example, when Ekiti was going to have the elections, they said the president had so much power and wherewithal to deploy soldiers to there. But it comes to Chibok girls and is saying, okay, we're on top of the matter, we're doing this, we're doing that. So they've accused him of downplaying serious issues. For take on this.
I'm afraid both issues are very important. The election of a governor, of a new government for a state, is so important that even if you drafted all the soldiers in the Nigerian army to that place to ensure that there was harmony, it was fair and proper, as long as it did not intimidate the population. And I am told the Ekiti populations were not intimidated. They did what they wished to do. The governor himself said the people had spoken, and therefore he would respect the wishes of his own people. To that extent, you could argue that irrespective of the over-coding, over-mobilization of security forces, happened in Ekiti did not move away from what could have happened. But once you begin to compare this to Chibok, you enter a different zone altogether. Anytime Chibok is mentioned, I am shocked that most Nigerians refuse to look at the facts of the case and start looking for a propaganda that will help make it a case of the government against the rest of us. It is not about the government against the rest of us. One thing is obvious, that the governor of that state participated in a very heinous manner in the taking away of those girls. Why is nobody talking about it? A governor who was told that it was dangerous to have whatever it was WAEC should have had, but still wanted it to happen, and then refused to provide security. He is complicit in what happened. And if he is complicit in what happened and there is a state of emergency on, properly speaking, the man ought to be properly taken to court and charged for negligence, because he committed an act that has placed Nigeria under the weather. But more than that is that there are people who think that it is better to rubbish all the authorities in Nigeria, whether they are military, political, or economic, in order to justify their intervention in Nigerian affairs. Whether people see that as what they are doing or not, that is the implication, that is the result, it is the impact of what most people are doing at the moment. Which is to say, the foreigner argues that our president is incompetent. The military cannot take care of any crisis. How many of them have managed to take care of terrorism in any way that is, properly speaking, more effective than has happened in Nigeria? They are all bumblers. All the governments, whether in Britain, in America, or wherever, they have not managed to deal with it better than any other government. They are all kindergartens in the business of dealing with terrorism. To attempt to make Nigeria look worse off as a result of what Goodluck has faced, it's like trying to destroy the name of Nigeria to justify foreign intervention. And I think that they are getting it. When I started talking just now, I said this was the way that colonialism took over. Before they took over kingdom after kingdom, they had allowed a vernacular of violence to overtake the whole area. Anybody who studies the history will know that 50 years before Lugard finally became the generalissimo of the area, there were civil wars across Nigeria. So you needed a foreign implant to create a Pax Britannica or a Pax Nigeriana, whatever they wished. Nigeria is like that big portion of the Godhead. I don't know those who read Wole Soyinka. Wole Soyinka says when the Godhead, the original Godhead was smashed, the Ogun portion was the fattest chunk that remained. Nigeria is like that big portion, that large portion that remains of the smashing of the Godhead. So that if you are talking about an African world, the Nigerian world is certainly that, and that large enough portion that can stand up to the rest of the world.
Okay, so it appears that everyone is just trying to scramble the country.
Smash that, and then you can take the rest and ride.
So now the question is, which way Nigeria, like the popular song?
There's only one way to beat it. It is possible to unite all Nigerians, not only to resist others, but to convince other Africans that a united West Africa and a united Africa is a better deal than what they are fighting for. If you have railways that crisscross West Africa from the Gambia to the Indian Ocean, or from South Africa to Cairo, and you actually ensure that Africans are interacting as normal people, we will have economies stronger than that of Europe. Those who are not allowing us to work in that direction, whether they are inside a particular country like Nigeria, or they are outsiders, should be fought. We must organize ourselves to beat them at the game of disorganizing Africans after that colonial bid that took place in 1884, 1885. The issue here is a very simple one. You have a lot of ethnic groups banded together by the force of foreign rule. They did it in their own interest. Now it is our time to play a different game in our own interest. I don't mince words over it. Only one Nigerian knew how to do it well and properly. Irrespective of how time has passed, he's still the only Nigerian who had an answer that is worth looking at. Obafemi Awolowo said, send every child to school make sure that all the knowledges with which we are conquered, the knowledge in European sciences, philosophy and literature, are transferred into our indigenous languages. Equalize the relationship between the two cultures through education. Ensure that we have good health across the board. Make sure that every able-bodied person who can work has a job. It is actually possible to create such a country. Those who refuse to work for it are the ones endangering our lives. And when you talk about those who refuse to work for it, most of the governors in Nigeria at the moment do not know how to define development. All of them think that the way to define development is to build roads and flyovers and things. Fine, fantastic. It is good to have them because we need roads. But it is better to develop the people who will build roads and ensure that they are available.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
It was indeed a great pleasure speaking with you, and I'm sure viewers have heard a lot on what you said, and we will take one or two lessons from what you just said. And Odia Ofemo has spoken on the way for Nigeria to go. I hope you learned a lot from this wonderful guest of mine. It's been a pleasure having you today.
Thank you so much.
All right, we've come to the end of today's interview session. But like you know, we don't go until we let you see what we have for you on our code session. Stay tuned. You've heard it all, you've seen it all on this program. It was a pleasure having you. Stay with me till the very end. My name remains Omotayo Alo. The program is from the Ivory and today we talked about happenings in Nigeria getting back on track. Join me next time for yet another exciting episode. Bye for now.